Right now, as you're watching this, American and Iranian forces are once again locked in a deadly chess game. Drones over the Persian Gulf, proxy battles across the Middle East, and whispers, always whispers, of what happens if Americans get trapped in Tehran again. But we've been here before. 45 years ago, America faced that exact nightmare. And when they tried to do something about it, it ended like this. 2 in the morning, middle of the Iranian desert. A fireball so bright it turns night into day. Men screaming, ammunition exploding. 8 Americans about to die, and 53 hostages who will never know how close rescue came. You know what still gets me? They knew this might happen. The math said there was barely a 60% chance of even reaching the staging area. But when Americans are in danger, when the whole world is watching you look weak, when every diplomatic option has failed, sometimes you roll the dice anyway. This is Operation Eagle Claw, the mission that should have been impossible, the disaster that was entirely predictable, and the failure that accidentally created the most lethal military force on Earth. Buckle up, this one's rough. Let's take a step back in history. It's November 4th, 1979, and you're a young Marine guarding the American embassy in Tehran. A beautiful morning, silent. Then you hear a sound like thunder, but not thunder. It's 500,000 people outside your walls, screaming for your blood. In the space of a few hours, you and 52 others are blindfolded, paraded on television, transformed into human bargaining chips. And at home, President Carter watches it all, knowing he made the decision that triggered it all, to allow the dying Shah of Iran to enter America for cancer treatment 2 weeks earlier. The new Iranian ruler, this austere Ayatollah named Khomeini, wanted the Shah to return to bring justice to the revolution. Carter said no. And so, American diplomats became pawns in a revolution. Now imagine you're Carter. Every morning for 5 months, you wake up and they're still there. Negotiations are getting nowhere. Your presidency is on the brink. The Soviet Union laughs, and America seems paralyzed, weak. And then, out of the blue, your generals arrive with a plan straight out of a Michael Bay movie. Listen to what they're proposing. We'll fly helicopters 600 miles from an aircraft carrier through hostile airspace at night in total radio silence. We'll refuel in the middle of the desert. Then we'll send Delta Force, this brand new counterterrorism unit that's never flown a real mission, into Tehran. They'll storm the embassy. They'll capture 53 hostages. They'll escape by helicopter to an abandoned airport. They'll destroy the helicopters and fly everyone out on cargo planes. Oh, and the Iranians won't notice any of this until it's over. Honestly, I don't envy Carter this choice. Because what's the alternative? Do nothing? Let Americans rot in captivity while the world watches? At a certain point, the pressure to act becomes unbearable, even when the action itself seems insane. And there was another problem, a big problem. The helicopters they chose, the RH-53D Sea Stallions, are reliable about 75% of the time. So they decided to send 8 of them, hoping to get at least 6 to the assembly area. 6 was the minimum necessary. Sounds reasonable, right? But luck doesn't work that way. And when military analysts finally ran the calculations, after the disaster, they discovered there was only a 65% chance of success, which means a 35% chance the rescue would fail before it even began. But despite the high risks, Carter signed the order on April 16, 1980. And honestly, I understand. Sometimes leaders have to take risks. Sometimes the pressure to save their people outweighs the odds of failure. April 24th, late afternoon on the deck of an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. 8 Navy helicopters stand ready. The crews are silent. Everyone knows this is a one-way trip for the helicopters. They will be destroyed in Iran, even if all goes well. They take off at dusk. The plan is to fly low, dangerously low, using night vision goggles. No lights, no radios, invisible. For the first 2 hours, it actually works. They creep into Iranian airspace like ghosts, and then helicopter number 6 receives a warning light, possible rotor blade failure. This is a land now, don't take any risks warning. If the rotor blades fail, the helicopters plummet from the sky within seconds. So they land in the middle of nowhere, check the blade, and yes, there's an indicator that shows a crack. Then they abandon the helicopter in the desert, 1 down, and then they fly into the haboob. If you've never experienced a desert dust storm, imagine trying to drive through fog so thick you can't see your hood. Now do it 200 feet up, at night, wearing night vision goggles that turn the dust into a solid white wall. The formation disperses. Now they're all alone. Chopper 5's instruments start to shut down. Navigation, flight controls. One by one, the systems that keep you alive in the dark simply shut down. The pilot is flying blind, literally and figuratively. He doesn't know where the other helicopters are. He doesn't know how long this storm will last. He doesn't know if anyone else made it, and he can't ask because there's radio silence. So he decides to return to the aircraft carrier. Later, they discovered they were 25 minutes from clear air, less than an hour from the rendezvous point. If he'd known, he probably would have continued, but he didn't know, because there was radio silence. 2 down. Meanwhile, the C-130s land in this damned salt flat called Desert 1 around 10 p.m. Engines screaming, dust everywhere, absolute darkness. And that's when things get weird. Headlights, on a road, in the middle of nowhere. A bus full of passengers, just driving through their top secret staging area. The security team stops it, detaining 44 completely bewildered Iranians who have no idea what they've stumbled upon. Then a fuel truck heads toward them. It doesn't stop when signaled. A Ranger fires an anti-tank rocket. The truck explodes in a fireball that lights up half the desert. Meanwhile, the helicopters begin to arrive, 90 minutes late, scattered, exhausted. But they're here. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. The exact minimum. The mission is still underway. And then the crew of Helicopter 2 utters the words no one wants to hear. We have a hydraulic failure. We can't fly. The commander on site, Colonel James Kyle, calculates 5 helicopters, not enough to transport everyone. Operators, hostages, equipment. He makes the decision. Abortion. A new plan was developed. Return the helicopters to the aircraft carrier and release the detained Iranians. The helicopter crews begin refueling for the return journey. One of the helicopters has to move so the C-130 sets can take off. The pilot takes off, but during the maneuver, he loses control of the aircraft and the helicopter drifts. The rotor blades strike the C-130 and everything explodes. The fuel ignites instantly. The C-130 was loaded with ammunition. Now everything is cooking in a chain reaction of explosions. The heat is unbearable. The men are on fire and screaming. Everyone near the crash runs, dragging the wounded, trying not to become the next victims. 5 Air Force crew members, 3 Marines, 8 men who knew this mission could kill them, but not like this. Not in some stupid, avoidable accident during the retreat. The commanders shout, "Get on the planes, now! Leave everything behind. No time to destroy the helicopters. No time to grab classified documents. No time to recover the bodies of their brothers. Just go." The remaining C-100s lift off in chaos, leaving behind the burning wreckage, 6 intact helicopters, maps, gear, and 8 dead Americans. By morning, Iranian TV is broadcasting the whole disaster. Charred aircraft, abandoned American equipment, bodies. The propaganda value is immeasurable. And the hostages? They're immediately scattered across Iran, making another rescue impossible. They'll stay in captivity for 270 more days, 444 days total. Finally released on January 20th, 1981, the day Ronald Reagan takes office, just to twist the knife in Carter's legacy one more time. Some of them didn't even know about the rescue attempt until their captors told them. Imagine being one of those Marines who watched this nightmare start and then finding out your brothers died trying to save you, and it didn't work. Carter goes on TV the next day and takes full responsibility. You can see it in his face. This broke him. Years later, someone asked what he'd change about his presidency. "I wish I could have sent another helicopter." This was his response. The military launched an investigation immediately. They found 23 different failures. Security so paranoid it became counterproductive. Command structures thrown together at the last minute. Services that couldn't talk to each other. Weather forecasts ignored. No proper backup plans. It was a masterclass in how not to run a military operation. But here's the beautiful, tragic irony. Those 8 men didn't die for nothing. Eagle Claw exposed every crack in the American military. It proved that the services were still stuck in Cold War silos, unable to work together on complex operations. It showed that special operations were an afterthought, underfunded and under-equipped. And the military said, never again. 6 years later, the Goldwater-Nichols Act overhauled the entire Department of Defense. A year after that, the United States Special Operations Command was born, SOCOM. One unified command controlling Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, the Night Stalkers, everyone. Every successful hostage rescue since then stands on the wreckage at Desert One, Panama, Somalia, Iraq, the raid that killed bin Laden. All of it built on lessons written in blood on an Iranian salt flat. At Arlington National Cemetery, there's a memorial to those 8. Their names are carved in stone. And every year, special operations veterans gather there to remember. One of the survivors, Nick Nickel, who was inside that burning C-130, said something that stuck with me. Some would call this operation a total failure, but was it? Our failure in Iran made us better. Major Richard Backey, Major Harold Lewis, Captain Lynn McIntosh, Captain Charles McMillan, Technical Sergeant Joel Mayo, Captain Richard Schultz, Sergeant Major Dewey Johnson, Corporal George Holmes. They launched into the desert despite the risks. They knew the plan was fragile. They knew the helicopters were unreliable. They knew the odds. They went anyway, because the Americans were trapped and someone had to try. Operation Eagle Claw failed, but from that failure was born the most capable special operations force in human history. Sometimes failed missions teach more than successful ones. Operation Eagle Claw brings us back to today, to drones, proxies, and whispers of conflict. History doesn't repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. And when it does, you better hope someone remembers what happened the last time we tried. The front lines that time has forgotten aren't just dusty stories. They're warnings. They're lessons written in blood that we can't afford to ignore. If you want to learn more about these stories, about the failures, tragedies, and missions that shaped history, click the subscribe button and the bell. Because the past isn't dead. It's not even past. It's right here, teaching us something if we're willing to listen. Thanks for watching. See you next time.